This is the question asked in today's skillrack daily challenge. We are given n integers in input and our task is to update all the n integers, and our output must contain the sum of all the updated n integers as our output. So here for the particular sample input 1 we are given 4 integers and we have to update all the integers as per the conditions given in the question. So let us start doing it. So the first integer is 158. The units digit of the integer 158 is 8. So we should not perform any operations on this particular integer. So the integer 158 remains as such. The next integer is 270 and the units digit of 270 is 0. So whenever the units digit is equal to 0, then we have to borrow 1 from the tens digit and add it in our units digit. So the tens digit in 270 is 7. So 1 must be borrowed from the tens digit and added with the units digit. So when 1 is borrowed from the tens digit, 7 becomes 6. And since 1 is added in the units digit, the 0 becomes 1. So now our updated integer becomes 261. So the 7 has become 6 and the 0 has become 1. And now the next integer is 100. Here the units digit is 0. So whenever the units digit is 0, we have to borrow a digit from the tens digit. But here the tens digit is also equal to 0. So whenever the cases are like this, that is when both units and tenth digit are 0, then we have to consider the whole integer as 0. So we move on to the next integer. So it is 310. Again the units digit is 0. So whenever units digit is 0, we have to borrow 1 from the tens digit and add it to the units digit. Here the tens digit is equal to 1. So when 1 is borrowed, it becomes 0 and then the borrowed 1 is added in the units digit. So the 0 present at the units digit becomes 1. So our updated integer becomes 301. So now we should add all of these updated integers. So when we add all of these updated integers, our output would be equal to 720. So this is how we get 720 for our sample input 1. Now let us see our sample input 2. So here we are given 3 integers. The first integer is 10 and the units digit of 10 is 0. So we have to borrow 1 from the tens digit. So 1 is borrowed from the tens digit and it is added with the unit digit. So it becomes 01, which is nothing but 1. And now the second integer is 90 and again the units digit is equal to 0. So we have to borrow 1 from the tens digit and add it with the units digit. So 9 becomes 8 and then that borrowed 1 is added in the tens digit. So the updated integer becomes 81. So now the next integer is 9990 and again here the units digit is 0. So 1 is added from the tens digit. So now the updated integer becomes 9981. So the 9 becomes 8 and then the 0 becomes 1. So now when we add all these 3 integers, the value would be 10063. So this is same as our expected output. So this is how we should be solving today's daily challenge. Now let us see how to write a C program for this. So in the first line I am creating two integers named n and sum, and I am setting the value of the integer sum is equal to 0, and in the next line I am accepting the value of the integer n and then I am creating a new integer named input. So now we have to accept n integers. So I am creating a loop that iterates for n times, and in every iteration we will be accepting an integer and storing the integer into the variable input. So here we are not going to store the values into an array. We are going to accept the integer, and soon after accepting the integer we are going to update the integer as per the conditions given in the question, and we are going to add it with the integer variable sum. So soon after accepting the input I am checking the units digit of the integer input. So the units digit of the integer input would be input mod 10. So if input mod 10 is equal to 0, then only we have to perform operations, else we can directly add the input with the integer sum. So first I am checking whether the units digit is equal to 0 or not. If it is equal to 0, then in the next line I am going to find the tens digit. So the tens digit of the integer would be input by 10 mod 10. So that would be the tens digit of the given input integer. So I am storing it in the new integer variable named tens digit. So now if the units digit is equal to 0 and also the tens digit is equal to 0, then we have to set the whole integer value as 0, because that is how we are given in the question. So if the tens digit is equal to 0, then I am setting input is equal to 0. If the tens digit is not equal to 0, then we have to borrow one digit from the tens digit and add it with the units digit. So in the else part, we will be performing that operation. So to do that, first I am creating a new character array named temp, and then I am storing the integer input in that character array temp. So to do that, I am making use of this function sprintf. So this function sprintf can convert the integer into a character array. So to do that, first in the arguments we should pass the name of our character array, and then within the double quotes we should give the specifier. Here I have given the specifier %d because the variable input is a integer type. So within the double quotes I have given %d, and then the source is the variable input. So I am giving it next to it. So now what will be happening is the integer input would be present within this double quotes. That is, it would have been converted into a character array and it would be stored into the character array temp. So this is the function of this function sprintf. So in the next line I am creating a new integer variable named len, and I am storing the value of the string length of temp. So that would be the number of digits present in the character array temp, or the number of digits present in the input. So now when 1 is borrowed from the tens digit, the units digit would become 1. So I am setting temp of len minus 1 is equal to character 1, because the temp of len minus 1 would be the last character, and I am setting it as 1. That is the units digit. And now the tens digit should be subtracted by 1. So the tens digit would be temp of len minus 2, and for this I am assigning the value tens digit minus 1 plus 48. And here we are including this plus 48 because we have to convert the decimal into ASCII value. And since a digit is borrowed from the tens digit, we use tens digit minus 1, and this would be the tens value now. Since we have to convert it into a ASCII value, we include plus 48. So the whole expression tens digit minus 1 plus 48 would be the correct format of representing the 10th digit as character. So now we have our updated integer in the character array temp, so we should convert it back into an integer. So I am making use of this function attoy, and within the arguments I am passing the character array temp. So this character array would be converted into an integer and stored back into the integer variable input. So whenever the units digit is equal to 0, then we will be performing the operations by checking the tens digit, and if tens digit is equal to 0, then we will set the input is equal to 0. The same, if tens digit is not equal to 0, then we will borrow one digit from the tens digit and add it to the units digit. So we will perform all these operations, and we will add the updated integer with the integer variable sum. So whenever we accept the input, we are going to update the input and add it with the integer variable sum. So finally, after the execution of the for loop, we have our expected output in the integer variable sum. So we finally print the integer variable sum. That would be our output. So now let us check our program with sample test cases. So this is the sample input 1, and our expected output is 720. So we also get 720 as our output. So now let us give our sample input 2, and our expected output for the sample input 2 is 10063. So we also get 10063. So this is the logic behind today's daily challenge. Thank you for watching.